All right, guys. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late. Very unusual for us.
I don't know. It's once in a lifetime opportunity that we would actually be late.
Yeah, actually, we're 6 minutes late, which is pretty good. They should all be congratulating us at this point. And no technical. Okay, no, we did have some technical difficulties.
We had more than one.
Yeah, okay. So our video capture card, I put the wrong one on, and there were no drivers for that one. And then,
The computer was just like every couple seconds, like,
yeah, our stream computer was being super not cool. It's like, bro, you're being not cool, bro.
I don't want to run right now, so I'm
gonna just walk and trip sometimes. Being not good, not cool. And then I thought there was no audio, but it turns out I stepped on the cord.
So his headphones just weren't plugged in.
Yes.
Winner.
Fortunately, that one was relatively easy to diagnose, just like diagnosing how much fun we're gonna have in the next half an hour. Let me just listen to your. Oh, his heart's racing.
Fun. Terrible.
All right, so we got a bunch of great topics today. Digital distribution reigns supreme in the PC market. So in other words, nothing has changed ever. Also, Valve is the most desirable employer in the gaming industry.
Because nothing has changed ever. Various DDR4 pricing news will be coming later on, and the Star Wars Unaltered trilogy could possibly be coming to Blu-ray. Perfect.
Did you guys realize that we've never missed a WAN show since we started broadcasting? Do you have any idea what kind of dedication that takes? Or at least what kind of copious amounts of sponsorship money it takes? Lynda.com is proud to sponsor the WAN Show this week. Lynda.com is a fantastic way to learn a new skill. Want to learn something new? Visit lynda.com/WAN Show. And that will be great. You will get a free trial for nothing. That's what free means.
I think it even lasts like 7 days or something.
Yeah, 7-day free trial. Bam. Also, whoa.
Whoa.
What's that?
Oh my god.
Next week on Linus Tech Tips, PAX Prime coverage brought to you by HyperX Memory and other products. They actually make lots of stuff like USB drives and they even have a headset.
They even have a headset.
They do have a headset.
Have we not missed a WAN show? I'm pretty sure we've missed a WAN show.
I don't think so.
What about when we were in Taiwan?
Individual ones of us have missed WAN shows.
Taiwan?
Oh, was that WAN show or was that live stream?
Oh, WAN show.
Since we started WAN
Marketing
show,
WAN show.
I think it's been over a year. We haven't missed a WAN show.
Yeah, okay.
One of us has managed to drag ourselves in here, come hell or high water or vacation.
Or vacation.
Statutory holidays.
Or babies.
Or babies. I mean,
Most statutory holidays, we both come in.
yeah, as long as we don't have a baby together, there's no reason that we'd ever have to miss one.
Just have like a hospital stream.
People are asking for an ice bucket. I think an ice bucket may be in the future of at least one of the people sitting on this couch right now. So,
I think I just got elected or whatever.
Did you just get challenged?
By Timmy.
By Timmy?
I think so.
Very
He
nice.
sent me a YouTube link and was like #slick. So I was
Hashtag
like, oh, God.
slick. That's how it's going to be. All right. So speaking of how it's going to be, how it's always been, and how it forever will be, I think that was the first thing I said. But if you don't think about it too hard, it won't make your brain hurt. Valve is the #1 most desirable employer in the gaming industry.
They surveyed 2,200 companies, and people even ranked working for Valve above having their own company. Oh man, that's kind of
Well,
insane.
to be clear, having your own company ain't all it's cracked up to be.
But having your own company always gets rated extremely highly.
Does it?
Usually, yeah. In almost all industries, it gets rated pretty highly.
This is something I didn't know. So this was a survey with 2,200 game devs. This was posted on the forum by lots of unexplainable. I think you're looking for the word inexplicable. Unexplainable. I think technically that is grammatically correct.
I think so.
Okay, well,
Lots of unexplainable lag.
Anyway, thank you for posting it on the forum, however much your username has confused me. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I think like in a wide set of industries, having your own company is rated very highly, but then you also have to remember that this is coming from people that haven't run their own company.
Right. Yeah, right. So that's a thing. So as
Yeah.
someone who has run their own company, there are benefits. However, it's not like I have a hard time selling people on coming to work for me because I think that they understand that it's not all just benefits.
Like my both my parents have ran their own companies. I did for a very small period of time, and I know you're running one right now, and it's yeah, it's not easy.
There are good things about it. There are
Yeah.
definitely good things about it. I set my own hours, but that's also one of the worst things about it.
Because to be very successful, you kind of need to set very large amount of hours. I think there's this weird assumption that as a CEO, you could just be like, well, I'm gonna take 876 days of vacation like George Bush did in his term. But I think what it actually turns into is you end up working usually double hours for like almost every week.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing too, though, is if you have a fantastic team that's able to support you, like I was able to take a week off where I was pretty much completely unplugged for the birth of my new baby girl. If you have that, then that's great. But most self-employed people work really long and really hard in order to get to that point. So, I mean, I was lucky to be able to do it for a week. For me to take a 2-week vacation, it's probably going to be a little while longer. I'm going to have to add some more staff. And so it's one of those things where you can have a very small business. Like, I've crunched the numbers. I've been honest with you guys about this. I've crunched the numbers. What kind of money could I make as a YouTuber with my kind of following, just like me and a chest tripod pumping out videos that are completely unedited? You know what? I could pay myself a lot more, like multiples more. But that's not really the point, because if you're trying to build a sustainable business, you have to invest and you have to spend a lot of money on people who can support the business and actually help to grow it if you get really good people. So that's the thing that every business owner has to struggle with. And you look at any industry. So let's look at the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Like an indie dev has to decide,
crazy hours too.
do I work crazy stupid hours to make the game myself from scratch, or do I pay crazy money to build this team that then I'm banking on being able to pay back, and then you have all that stress and then you're not sleeping anyway. So it's not the best thing ever, even though there are definitely benefits.
And I know indie devs that have gone both ways, so I don't know. I do know that as well, actually.
Alrighty then. Now, to be clear, Valve's internal structure is not universally praised. I mean, I don't think anyone complains about the snack room, but
No. I think our snack room isn't exactly amazing.
I actually have an upgrade to our snack room coming.
you?
Yes, it's a gumball machine that legitimately works, but you have to put money in it.
Oh no, of course. Oh man, of course.
It was mine when I was
okay.
a kid. My aunt brought it over to my house, and I was just like, "Oh, sweet! I think it takes quarters."
Okay.
Yeah.
I had my neighbor at one point in time had this like old school pot machine that you had to put money into. Mm-hmm. But then he had just cut a hole so the money just fell back out.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I know.
Great idea, though. I like
Right
the way
now,
you think.
the gumball machine that we got from Super Fun is broken to the point where to get gumballs out of it, you just take the top off, reach in and pull gumballs out, and then put the top back on.
Not very secure. I wish I hadn't invested in that gumball machine.
Oh, okay.
Now, to be clear, guys, not everything is perfect there. They don't have like a hierarchy.
Yeah.
But come on.
There's like the I don't know what they exactly call it, but there's like obviously Gabe is kind of leading things, and he has his like right hand, left hand kind of group of people, which he kind of has lead other people. It's not like a very clean cut extreme structure, but it's also not completely flat.
So it's been criticized as being a little bit like high school because there'll tend to be people staking out their own
Clicks and
claims
stuff,
and clicks and stuff like that. Although, I mean, there's some great stuff. There are no shareholders. It is a privately held company, so you don't have to ship something unless you're happy with it. There's also the fact that you can take as much vacation time as you want, which sounds kind of like being self-employed, because that's just another way of saying you know, we have this loose culture where you can work however hard you want, but like other people are going to be working hard, so
You can just get fired.
it's almost like a peer pressure system.
Yeah.
As opposed to just
And I'm sure it'll come down to, like, if you have some super crazy awesome trip, you can be like, oh, hey, cool, this is great. And a lot of people are going to know what you're doing, and you go do that and come back and then work hard again.
Yeah.
As long as you continue to work hard, it's probably fine. And the high school thing, I think anytime you ever even try to have any amount of a flat structure, you're going to run, with this many employees, you're going to run into that type of a situation.
I think anytime you try to add more than a half a dozen employees to a company, never mind the structure, you're
Yeah.
going to end up with high school or daycare or both.
Like, have you ever worked at a big box store of any sort ever? It's just an extension of high school. It doesn't even matter how old the people are that worked there. It's just an extension of high school. Best Buy was my best example for that. I used to work in Geek Squad when I was like really young. I was in like grade 10, I think I started working in Geek Squad. And yeah, the whole store is just an extension of high school. It's ridiculous. So yeah, again, nothing has really changed here. Valve has always been that, like, everyone wants to go work there because it's awesome company, and they're not EA. Woo! And like, cool, they did a study about it, but this has been known for a very long time, so it's not exactly new.
I got a straw poll for you guys. Want to hear from you. What is your workplace like? So I'm gonna hit up the Twitch chat with this bad boy. We'll run that while we do our next topic here.
What do you think ours is out of that?
Spam. I don't think we're very high school like. I mean, part of it is that
I think it's how you defend the high. I mean, I think it's how you define the high school like thing.
Okay, we're kind of high school like in that we're very casual.
Yeah.
But we all get along, which is not. I think the connotation of high school like
is the cliques and the fighting and
the cliques and the pettiness. I don't think we're very petty.
No, I think we have I think we might have some features of a possible high school label though.
Yeah, probably.
There's like the Friday after work when everyone kind of like groups up in the main room and just talks about like random crap. I don't know.
Right.
But I think we're more that bottom one which no one is voting for.
Yeah, mature, cohesive, and teamwork focused. Yeah, dog. All right, what's our next topic?
I
gotta
much
keep this here.
Some of the same, whereas nothing's ever changed, which is digital distribution finally reigns the PC market. I think we've all kind of known this for a long time. Even in the article, they talk about how as recently as 2010, there was only 48% of the game purchases were made digitally.
Isn't that amazing?
That's half in 2010. Apparently, it is now 92% as of 2013. It's not even 2013 anymore. It was 92%.
And you know what? You don't have to be a crazy, amazing mathematician to figure out that these are some really big numbers. So you look at a studio, you look at someone like Microsoft. Or did I say Microsoft? Sorry, Ubisoft. I got a lot of hate going on Microsoft in this episode, so maybe
you'll be catching more of that.
So
later.
you look at someone like Ubisoft and how they're looking at 13% or whatever it was. We talked about this last week. Are 17%?
I think it was.
Let's say about 15% and hedge our
Sure.
bets. So over a tenth of their overall business was PC gaming. Then you look at that and you go, okay, well, Ubisoft's a public company. You can look up exactly how much revenue they had in a given year. So then you kind of go, okay, well, Ubisoft makes up whatever slice of the overall gaming industry that there is. And wow, holy crap, are we ever talking about a lot of hundreds of millions of dollars that has shifted to digital. And so...
Kind of a really big deal. One thing that I have to say about this, though,
it's
at
nice
the same
to be Valve.
time, yeah, is that they're saying as recently as 2010, only 48% of the PC game purchases were made digitally. That only is kind of hilarious. But
yeah, I know, right?
Even since then and before then, it got to the point where it was difficult to buy PC games physically.
Yep.
Like there's been a lot of stuff where there was no option.
Well, you like to buy games physically.
I do, and I try, and it's been hard since before 2010, and now it's nigh impossible for a lot of different games.
In the last 10 years, actually, it's kind of neat because I'm coming up on 10 years of having known my wife, so I can kind of I can say, okay, I can talk about a 10-year period very easily. When I met her and we'd go to the mall, it was entertaining for me to go to the EB Games and browse while she went and shopped.
Yeah.
in that time, it's gone from PC gaming made up a significant chunk of the store to PC gaming is like one side of one unit, and it's like it might not even be. So they'll have the latest title, and they'll have a few copies of that on an end cap, and then they'll have like some copies of like StarCraft too.
COD and Blizzard.
Yeah. Or they'll have like whatever, some staple type games, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So they kind of did it to themselves. On the other hand, I can understand where they're not stocking it if it's not selling. So
Yeah. But then, yeah, that's like, it's not even just places like EB Games, though, because I think a lot of different gaming companies are straight up just not releasing physical copies of the games. It's not like EB Games is specifically trying not to, or GameStop or whatever, is trying not to stock these things. I think they might not even have an option, which is kind of frustrating.
yeah, it's not like something like a Humble Bundle is realistically going to have a physical
Exactly,
copy.
or a lot of indie games in general, which are becoming a really big thing recently, or stuff like League and Dota, which is brought up in here a lot, where a lot of purchases are going towards stuff like League and in-game micro-style transactions, which are getting calculated into this percentage number,
Right.
even though they're not actually a
discrete sale
Yeah,
of a
you
game.
bought this game. It's
Yeah.
not that, but it's still being calculated in this number, which it should be. That makes sense. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was forced into this position. I know there's a lot of people that do prefer the digital distribution style, but I think people like me who want physical copies...
I'm raising my donger too, you just can't tell.
You can tell that I rose mine.
wow.
Anyway... Awesome. So I think people like me that actually want physical games were kind of forced out of being able to buy them.
But you guys are basically dumb, so...
Yeah.
I mean, there are legitimate reasons to need physical games, slow internet connections, guys in Australia, not that they can buy games at all because they come out, however many months later. It's like, Australia, screwed, and then screwed again, screwed some more.
When I used to live with my parents, it made a lot of sense because we didn't have an amazing internet connection. So it was actually a lot faster to just drive to the freaking store and drive back.
Right.
Like, it just was. But that being said, a lot of games now, you go to the store and you come back, you put the disc in, and it's like, okay, download it.
Yeah, I know. Download
What?
this. How big was the patch for,
50?
Sorry?
50 gigs? You're talking about COD?
Yeah.
I think-
No, there was another one that we installed recently. It was a PC game, and it had something like a 6 gig patch. Was it Battlefield 4? There was like a day 1 or day 2 patch.
Yeah, I
that
don't
was
remember
huge.
what it is.
Can't remember,
It might
but
have been Battlefield 4.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
I know Titanfall was massive.
Titanfall's 50 gigs.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Yeah.
All right. So what's our next topic here?
More news about high prices of DDR4.
Yeah. Oh, should I go get our DDR4? Oh no, we already showed that last week.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
we have other DDR4, but it might be on a test bench.
He means like he laid it on.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything about having a motherboard and a DDR4 compatible CPU,
It's
of
just
course.
sitting on the test bench.
Mind you, if you were to, type anything about DDR4 into Google, well, whatever, I'm reading all the same rumors you guys are reading, right?
Of course.
So anyway, Australian site PC Case Gear and UK site scan.co.uk both released pre-order prices on some Corsair DDR4 products, including their new Vengeance series as well as Dominator Platinum. So we are looking at pricing that is double digits percentages more expensive than DDR3. However, and this was originally posted on the forum by Blueprint, there's another article that spins it in a bit of a different way. And this was originally posted by Luca P, and it's from Overclock 3D. G-Skill, their Ripjaws for 3000 megahertz DDR4 kit, which may or may not be on one of my test benches.
Laying on it.
Yeah, laying on it. That exact
in
kit
the package still, because
Yeah.
there's obviously nothing to put in it.
is actually going to be priced pretty similarly to a 3000 megahertz DDR3 kit. To which I kind of go, okay, well that's cool. Because at least those hyper overclocked DDR3 kits that hardcore enthusiasts who want lots of cores on their CPU, for example, might have been inclined to go towards anyway. At least those will be fairly similar, although I could also make a lot of arguments for us not really needing 3000 megahertz DDR3 kits in the first place.
And we've made those videos.
So anyway, the G.Skill one is priced at 360 Great Britain pounds, whereas 8 gig kits of DDR3 at that speed are 320 Great Britain pounds. So there you go.
I don't think that really applies to a ton of people, but it is interesting to see that maybe there isn't the most massive price hike ever.
And to people looking at it going, okay, yeah, they run at the same frequency, but the DDR4 kit is going to have looser timings. Something that a little bird told me is that primary timings might not be as much of a concern with DDR4. And we might be looking at a situation where actually playing around with secondary timings, called so because they're not the main 5 timings of a DDR memory module, but rather they're more about inter-DIMM communication and that kind of stuff. Those secondary timings may or sorry, did I say intra? Those secondary timings may actually end up being very, very important and something that the maker won't really be able to advertise in the traditional sense. So we're either going to see memory manufacturers shift towards giving us a much deeper set of timings when they spec out their RAM, or people might just end up being pretty confused for a bit here. So there you go.
It's going to be pretty interesting. Although that is still, no matter how much you want to say like, oh yeah, well this kit compared to this ridiculous kit is actually not that bad of a deal. It's still way too expensive for me. I will jump on that bandwagon much further in the future.
Have you been an early adopter to any memory tech?
No. I waited for DDR3. I waited for DDR2.
Because the first DDR3 platform was what? LGA 1366? No, the first DDR3 platform was 775, but it made no sense at that point. I think this is the first time in a while, actually, that we haven't seen a single socket have multiple memory platform compatibility. Because it's always been this early stages, very expensive time period has been at a time when it doesn't really make any sense to buy it anyway because it performs the same and it's on a chip that was really designed for the previous technology.
Yeah, because I had Dominators on 775, which were DDR2.
Yeah, because moving from DDR1 to DDR2, when AMD was really the enthusiast platform of choice, we did get new SKUs and we did get a new socket, but we didn't actually get a microarchitecture update.
Right.
So it was the same performance. You could just pay more for memory or not pay more for memory. And that series of processors was very dependent on latency. So DDR1 performed really well in the real world, aside from, just running memory bandwidth benchmarks.
The DDR1 to DDR2 change was the most hilarious.
Yeah, and then DDR2 to DDR3. No, I think DDR2 to DDR3 was pretty stupid. Because basically that was the P45 days when pretty much Gigabyte or Asus or whoever would have like the motherboard for DDR2 and then the motherboard for DDR3. This one would be like $100 more, not faster, less stable, because early DDR3 was bad.
I saw more people blindly adopting DDR2 than I saw people blindly adopting DDR3.
Well, they probably got burned when DDR2 was bad.
Probably.
I mean, DDR2, that was the N4 680i days.
Yeah.
Like, that was when the problem was the chipset was bad, like, the enthusiast chipset of choice was terrible, and the memory was just not validated properly. Like, I remember OCZ, SLI sticks of memory, putting them into 680i boards. They were only supposed to work in one board. And they wouldn't work.
I used to hate how they did naming at that time frame. With like SLI and all that kind of stuff. It's like, go away.
Speaking of which, both OCZ and using existing branding to try to sell completely unrelated products.
Great segue.
Thank you. Here we go. Oh, I got the whole doc up here. This was originally posted by Brainless906 on the forum, and AMD is planning to, not planning to, they're planning to sell, I guess they have already released, their AMD SSDs. So they're calling these the R7 240 or something like that. I remember it being funny because when my review sample arrived, the box was labeled R7 240, and then the description was video card. Because a lot of these companies, when they fill out their invoices, they just have a standard one that they put, kind of no matter what they're shipping. So it just says video card. I'm like, why would they send me an R7 240? But actually, it was an R7 series SSD. So it's based on the OCZ Barefoot 3 controller. It's got some Toshiba 19 nanometer class NAND on it. There are a few reviews out. Basically, it's an SSD. It's not terribly expensive. It does come with a 4-year warranty. It's more expensive than the 840 Evo. It is a little bit faster. It comes with the cloning software. To me, this is kind of one of those things where I look at it and go, if you were really determined to build like an AMD outed system, then you could buy this. And it would be fine. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the Barefoot 3 controller, truthfully.
It's just, it's boring.
Yeah, it's another commodity SSD. At this point, I feel like we don't really need another SSD player. We have a number of very strong SSD players.
Don't.
Yeah, we kind of don't have another SSD player because nothing on this is actually manufactured or designed by AMD. No. I understand why they might want to get into the market that way. I mean, that's how OCZ did it. They went from rebranding Indelinks and Sandforce controllers to designing their own IP and their own controller by acquiring Indelinks, mind you, but they still did it. And you look at even companies like Intel, where sometimes they design their own controller, sometimes they just write a firmware, but they're always using their own flash. You look at guys like SanDisk, where they use their own flash. They actually fab flash. So even though they're using someone else's controller, they're contributing something they made. In this case, AMD is coming in very late, contributing nothing that they've actually designed or manufactured. And the pricing is fine. It's just not going to be... You can never compete with someone like Samsung, who is fully integrated. Yeah. Where they're taking the margin on the flash manufacturing, they're taking the margin on the controller manufacturing, they're taking any margin that would exist in terms of a software license, and they're taking the margin on the finished drive that they put in a box and deliver to the customer. So at every level, they're taking their margin. So how was AMD supposed to compete with that?
Yeah, I don't know. I was fairly underwhelmed because they had all that hype build for this.
Well, the hype might be for something else as well. I'm not sure. I think they have a live stream scheduled this weekend, although it's at 7 a.m. my time. So they were like, Linus, are you going to tune in? I'm like, no.
Was the live stream for this weekend for the Star Citizen thing, though?
I don't know. I don't think we can say what the live stream this weekend is for.
Because
I know what it's for. Don't try to... Oh, okay.
I'm trying to... God, we have to play into the rumors that are out there.
Okay, what are the rumors?
There was a tweet for... Let me see if I can find it. Oh, jeez.
I thought you were gonna break our NDA.
No, man.
Okay.
Chris Roberts, no. I don't know where the tweet is, but someone from AMD was like, "You should watch because Stars isn't news."
Oh, okay.
So I was like, "Oh, Mantle," because that's probably what that is.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But we already know Star Citizen is getting Mantle.
I don't know.
We already know that. Okay, sure.
But what else is going to be in the Star Citizen news, right? And the Star Citizen actually getting Mantle, I think, has been moderately up in the air. I don't know if it was 100% confirmed.
No, I think it's a confirmed title.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't have it yet, but it's confirmed that it will at some point. Although with AMD releasing everything to the OpenGL Kronos group, I don't know how much sense Mantle will make by that time. Star Citizen actually comes out anyway.
By the time Star Citizen actually comes out. The year 2070.
All right, so other AMD news that is actually much more exciting, posted by Tech Fanatic, who is our resident AMD news poster, is that Richard Huddy, AMD's gaming site... Wait, didn't we talk about this last week?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, just in case we didn't, or just in case we did, we'll cover it, but we'll do it pretty quickly.
We might have.
So FreeSync is going to be looking at a very minimal cost for monitor manufacturers. Could be between $10 and $20 in total cost. Although something to understand, guys, is that $10 to $20 of cost, the general rule is that by the time the end user actually holds that product, it's going to be about double that. So you have to understand that their retailer is going to want their margin, the manufacturer is going to want their margin, the MDF program that they have with whoever is going to want their margin. They're going to build in some extra margin for people to return the product because now it's a more expensive product that people might return and they might not be able to do anything with it. So all those things, we're looking at about double of a BOM cost typically. So There you go. So it'll add anywhere between $20 and $40.
So here's the tweet. It was from at AMD Radeon. It says, "We know you're excited about Star Citizen from Robert Space Industries. You'll want to tune in to hashtag AMD30 Live tomorrow, Billy Link."
Oh, okay, cool.
So I don't know.
So anyway, the exciting thing about it is that we could be looking at FreeSync monitors that are sampling next month and could arrive to consumers in early 2015, which compared to G-Sync, which is here now, is kind of unfortunate, but is not as long as I thought it might take. So if you were looking to hold out sort of a little bit longer as opposed to, another 9 months to a year, then you're in luck.
Especially with how kind of slowly graphics technology is coming out. So if you're pretty good right now, you're probably pretty good for a while.
Yep. All right. What else?
Want to do your 3 monitors? I know you're going to be excited about those.
Yeah. So this was posted by Notional on the forum, and LG is unveiling 3 new monitors. A couple of which, one of which gets me really excited, one of which gets his panties pretty wet, and the other one of which is almost there.
Yeah.
For both of us.
Yeah.
All right, so the original article's on Guru 3D. Why don't I do the one that I like?
Sure.
So, that monitor that I love ever so much, the UM9534, I can't even remember the model number because 34 UM95 is what I think it is. They are going to be releasing what looks like pretty much a curved version of that. Now, curved displays, we've actually done a fast as possible on this before. They don't make sense in every context. In fact, a lot of the time, they're basically stupid. You should not be buying a 42-inch or even, I'd say, a 50-inch curved TV for your living room, because unless you are a forever alone and you only watch TV by yourself always, the problem is that a curved TV is going to deliver a slightly better viewing experience for someone in the sweet spot, but an actually worse one for anyone who's outside of it. And a flat TV is going to be a better bet in that case. However, once a display gets large enough that multiple people can fit in the sweet spot, so to speak, cram them in there, it starts to make sense. Now with a monitor, you don't have to worry about multiple viewers very often, so that threshold for when a display is big enough is going to be more easily achievable. And for number 2, this is big enough. 34 inches. Sometimes I feel sitting in front of my monitor at work like a slight curvature would be really nice. So it's 3440 by 1440. I think it's 6 milliseconds of response time, so pretty much the same as the other one. Nothing special with respect to what they're claiming about input lag or anything like that, so I'm not expecting it to be amazing for gaming, the way that the 29-inch one is a little bit better than the existing 34-inch one, but very exciting from a productivity standpoint. And for gamers who are more interested in the immersion, I personally, in spite of our recent Surround Gaming Build Guide, I personally find a larger, wider screen without bezels more immersive than bezels. And you'll notice I said very carefully in that video, if you're into this, then this is the ultimate setup. But for me personally, I'd rather have a single screen.
I've also never really been into that like multi-monitor surround gaming thing. It makes sense. I've seen it in some situations, especially for flight sims.
Yeah, or driving simulators.
Yeah.
Like
where those windows aren't, it's not even necessarily a curve. Those are dedicated to windows in the vehicle.
And if you're supposed to be in a cockpit anyway, what's another, support structure or whatever for the glass, right? I'm okay with that. But first person, it doesn't do much for me.
Yeah, me neither. So the next one is a 31 MU97 31-inch true 4K monitor. Ooh, the only thing
we should clarify what true 4K means.
I was just going to jump into that.
Were you? You were going to jump in?
It's 4096 by 2160, which I believe is like 19 by 10. That's what it stated on Wikipedia.
Okay.
So I was kind of hoping for 16 by 10, but it's all good. Close enough, and that's kind of the resolution that I've been waiting for a long time. So excited for that. The only thing that kind of gets me slightly worried about this is the fact that it's 31 inches. I know you have experience with really, really large monitors, but I'm not necessarily sure if I'm ready to jump that high, considering I use 24-inch monitors. But something I have been thinking about for quite a while is getting a really big monitor in the middle of my setup and then setting my 2 current 24-inch monitors into vertical mode on the side.
It's funny you bring that up because by the way, that aspect ratio is apparently 256 to 135. And that's rounded to the nearest whole number or something. So... yeah. I don't know if that's right. Anyway, the point is... width and height. Yeah, I think I entered it right. What were we saying? Right, so size of monitor. When I originally went 30-inch, and I used a 30-inch monitor for a few years, a Samsung 2560 by 1600. I liked it a lot. There was an adjustment period moving to it, and like I got used to it, and I really liked it.
How big was that one again? Sorry.
That was a 30.
30. Okay.
So I got used to it. But you know what? I've since gone down to 27-inch 16 by 9, and I never miss my 30-inch. I never miss the extra screen real estate once I'm at 1440 tall. When at 1080 tall, I don't like it, and I would rather have an older 16 by 10 aspect ratio, or maybe even a square one compared to that. I don't like 16 by 9 small wide.
Me neither, which is why I've been sitting on 16 by 10 for so long. And I'd be okay with going bigger than 24. I just don't know if 31 is...
27 is a really nice place to be for a single monitor setup, and honestly, if I was running multi-monitor, I would prefer 24.
Yeah. So that's why I've been thinking about that one large one in the middle, and then possibly the two verticals on the side.
You know what I really want to do as a project? Because, yeah, I mean, okay, with both of us, the big issue with multi-monitor is the bezels. But there are a lot of monitors where you can strip them down and you can take all the plastic stuff away and end up with very, very thin bezels, because the bezel is effectively there to protect it a lot of the time. Yeah. So if it's just going to sit on your desk forever, there's no reason not to remove it. I'd be interested to do like a project build where we strip down 3 monitors, use our Ergotech stand, and see if that helps.
It's not a bad idea.
Just kind of sit in front of it and take it in and decide.
For what exactly, though? Because I still think first person kind of style is still going to be messed up, and I still think that kind of cockpit driving style is still going to be awesome. I don't think you can get away from that because of the wrapping.
Right.
Because you're going to get the weird warping effect on the far side of the screen, where things are at a really weird angle, they're stretched, and they move too quickly.
I mean, if games had better support for it, I think I'd feel better about it. Like if we were, if basically you could set up the game where it's like, look, here are my 3 discrete camera angles. I want it to look like I'm turning my head this way, as opposed to looking like, you know, the scene is made of silly putty. When you...
Yeah, exactly. If there was better support, I think it would be really cool. But it just like super breaks in most games that you put it in. So
unless you're willing to put a fair bit of work into it, and then a lot of the time you can fix it.
Yep, if you utilize all these little custom tools.
And then there's the last monitor, which is like almost super cool. It's the 24GM77. That's a 144 hertz gaming monitor with dynamic action sync, which drastically reduces input lag, apparently. So they're saying less than 1 millisecond response time, includes a black stabilizer and motion 240, but does not seem to include adaptive sync or G-Sync. I am at a point now where I don't know how I would feel about investing in an expensive gaming monitor that doesn't have G-Sync. We actually have a review upcoming of BenQ's XL2410 something, or 2411 something, and we'll have to, I think Luke's going to be doing that one. That was what we had discussed?
I think so.
Yeah. So what I've done is I've handed Luke our G-Sync engineering sample Asus monitor and the BenQ, and the analysis is going to be, look, if G-Sync costs another $100, is it worth it to invest in a high refresh rate monitor that doesn't have G-Sync at this point? And I think that's really going to be the angle.
Yeah. I haven't gotten that Asus one from you yet.
Yeah, I gave it to you. It's on your desk in there.
Oh.
You complained about the power adapter.
Oh, yeah. I was using it for something else. I didn't realize that was like to take and go compare things with.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, go to town.
I was using that for the mouse.
Right.
G402.
Right.
To see how smooth it was and stuff.
You know what? That monitor has like a G-Sync module in it, and I know NVIDIA has the layout for how to make a harness to hook it up to the Asus 32 4K. If I can get one of those harnesses from them, I am so doing a Frankenstein project and 4K'ing G-Syncing that monitor.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. Then I'll bring all the other monitors back to the office, and I won't need an upgrade for years.
Perfect. Do that so you stop stealing every monitor we ever get.
Yeah, the ROG Swift went home so fast.
Gone. Never saw it again. I never actually saw it running.
from CES when I first saw it. I was like, it's okay. And then when I got it on the desk, actually using it, I took the PA off.
Especially stuff like monitors. It's hard to get a proper first impression when you're at a show.
At a show is terrible because the lighting's whatever the lighting is, and you've got like 4 minutes of whatever demo they're running. Like it's not the right context to have a proper experience.
Often that demo is running because it's like repeatable or easy to maintain instead of being the best thing.
Or like because a booth babe can fix it if it's broken.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like it's not, they're not going to have catastrophes on the floor where they have to show you that they're running a PC instead of an Xbox. That's what a lot of them are going to be tuned towards. Want to rant?
Oh man. You know what? Why don't we do our sponsor spots and then I'll rant on this product.
Okay.
Oh. Anyway, okay, let's do that first. So, big thanks to lynda.com for being a sponsor of the WAN Show today, guys. Lynda.com is a fantastic place to go and learn a new skill. You can pick up some digital photography tricks, you can pick up some video editing tricks, you can pick up, and pretty much it goes beyond hobbies. Like, it's cool because the way that their lessons are structured, they're coming from experts. They are set up so you can almost kind of follow along in a course. And if you want to pick up some real programming skills, for example, you use lynda.com as kind of like a pseudo school. So yeah, they don't award you with, a diploma or whatever else, because yay, online diplomas are probably worth something. No, it's more about the knowledge that you're actually gaining because there are at least 2 people here at Linus Media Group who on a day-to-day basis use their lynda.com knowledge that they learn by being subscribed. So lynda.com/WAN Show for a free 7-day trial, because if it's not for you, then you can go ahead and cancel it and you can just go, okay, yeah, this isn't that useful for me, or I don't have the time right now, or whatever else, and just give it a shot. And if you don't have the time to commit to like every day, like, I mean, even some online courses, it's like you attend the seminar at that time. Lynda.com doesn't work that way. You can tune in when you want, you can tune out when you want, because it's a subscription-based service. So I guess ultimately they don't really care.
Yeah.
When you're done.
But that benefits you too, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for everyone that way, I think.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. Lynda.com. Thank you. Free 7-day trial. Also, this is fairly exciting. You want to talk about what you're going to be doing at the show?
The show, I expect a lot of what the show is going to be is running around to different motherboard manufacturers, checking out something specific. No more information. Hopefully that's what's going to happen. We're going to be, just like we've been doing for shows for a while now. That's probably really loud.
Why is that so loud?
I don't know.
Sorry about that.
Just like we've been doing for shows for a while now, when it's a gaming show, we will be releasing a bulk of it as actually hardware stuff. A lot of the hardware guys are going to these gaming shows because they want to show people that are gaming their hardware. Kind of totally makes sense.
I want to show people my hardware.
I always show people my hardware. So yeah, we'll be checking out a lot of that kind of stuff. We'll also be checking out gaming stuff. I'm trying to get in contact with Blizzard, but it doesn't really seem to be working, so we probably won't have any Warlords of Draenor stuff.
If anyone from Blizzard's watching, hey.
Hello.
We're a thing. Thank you.
We'll probably have an Indie Mega Booth roundup video. That's been seeming to work well lately. Instead of a whole bunch of individual indie games, we'll just do one, like, top 5 things that I saw while walking through the Indie Mega Booth.
And I'll be down there for Saturday.
So
I'll be around on the show floor on Saturday. So if you run into me, come say hi.
Yeah.
Hopefully not when I'm in the middle of filming something. Thank you.
Just hang out.
And so we wanted to give a big thanks to HyperX for actually enabling us to be there. So I'm just going to screen share you guys for a second. They've been asking us a lot lately to kind of draw attention to their HyperX YouTube channel, and I was like, yeah, okay, we can do that, because a lot of the time manufacturer YouTube channels are really not that great, but they've actually got some pretty interesting stuff going on here right now. I don't know if you've actually checked it out.
I have.
But Social Blade is my kind of ultimate
I haven't checked their social
creeper thing, and check this out. They've gained 20,000 subscribers in the last 30 days. They have 42,000 subscribers total. They are growing crazy fast right now.
Actually, yeah.
And they're putting out a lot of content that I think will be really interesting to people. Like, where are these? They had some interviews that are like 250,000 views. Like, check this out. Where did it go? Yeah, here we go. I'm a cutie pie.
Yeah,
282,000 views. And it's such a simple format. It's like it's 20 questions and they're like the simplest things. Like there's questions about his hair. Like it's kind of casual. It's pretty cool. And I was like, oh, these guys are actually doing YouTube kind of right.
Yeah.
Most manufacturers really don't get it. It's like, yeah,
No.
we want to put all of our ads on our YouTube. And they have some ads on their YouTube channel too, to be very clear. We even made a couple of them. But
I'm not surprised though, because when we went to go check out their head offices for E3, I got that vibe from their HyperX tour thing that we got to go through, checking out like their gaming room and stuff. It was like, okay, yeah, they're actually kind of focused on making something awesome.
So guys, so thanks to HyperX for being our gold sponsor for PAX Prime this year. And guys, check out their YouTube channel if you want to have gaming content and learn about new memory and USB drives and stuff like that. All those good things. All right, so time for, I kind of want to start like a rant segment for Linus Tech Tips. Because there's some stuff that I could just do, and this isn't.
We kind of do.
This isn't quite that bad. This is more like a square peg round hole type thing, as opposed to something that's just uniformly terrible.
We don't call it a rant segment, but like Beats by 50.
That was pretty ranty.
Or Streets by 50. My bad.
So
yeah,
you guys probably recognize my daily driver phone, the HTC One M8. Dun, 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 dun. Whoa, Windows Phone. Wow, I didn't know about that. So now there's an HTC One M8 Windows Phone Edition. It's a Verizon exclusive right now, although I saw a rumor that Sprint's going to be picking it up as well, which has only caused a little bit of trouble for me. I had to program my APN manually, and then I had to contact HTC directly because Verizon customer support wouldn't do it for me in order to get internet tethering enabled on the phone. I'm like, look, I got my phone working. Everything's cool. Everything's fine. I just need you guys to, because I'm not on your network, so I don't see why you would care if I internet tether. I need you guys to, like, come out of the Stone Age and turn that crap on my phone. Thanks, dog. And they were like, oh, yeah, we actually can't do that because, you're not a Verizon subscriber. I'm like, well, I can't be a Verizon subscriber. I'm in Canada. Do you have service up here? No, I didn't think so. So can I give you the SIM information for the SIM that came in it, or the IMEI for the phone? So sir, the reason that you're having a bad experience with the device is because, you're getting these headaches because it's not a Verizon network device, and it is a Verizon network device, and you're not on the Verizon network. Look, I don't care. I'm not going to be a Verizon customer. I don't live there. Turn the feature on. And then so HTC ended up being able to take care of that for me. But sorry, Verizon rant over. Dietrich W, thank you for posting this in the forum. We have some details about it, obviously, because I'm working on my review for it. But it is pretty much exactly the same hardware as the One M8 Android edition. There are some changes. The radio is slightly different, so it supports fewer frequencies, which, because it's a Verizon exclusive device, I guess that makes sense. Maybe they were able to cost it down fraction of a couple of pennies or whatever that would work out to in that way. And you fire it up and it's the Windows Phone experience.
Do they have the same problem with the glass on the camera?
I don't know if that's been resolved.
I know some people would care about that, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah. It's really hard to say when it's brand new,
yeah.
But I'll be using it for at least a couple weeks to get a really good impression of what's going on with this phone, because I want to be fair to it, but I'm running into a lot of issues, and they're not related to the One M8. The One M8 is a fantastic piece of hardware. This is a great device. I love it. The problem is that I really don't feel like Windows Phone, the experience, scales for an enthusiast. I feel like for basic functionality, text messages, email, phone, navigation, once you pull the crappy Verizon navigator off and put on a real one, which you can find for free in the store, I feel like it's fine for all that, but if you're actually trying to do anything on it, there's just... how? And it's little stuff. Like, okay, there's no Hangouts client. Like, really? Well, I use Hangouts every day. That sucks. It's like super crappy. So you're going to have to get ready for a lot of workflow changes that you're not going to be accustomed to, even if you've done the Android iOS switch before. Like I actually switched to iOS recently. I've been using my iPhone 5S for a couple weeks now, just because I'm getting ready for the iPhone 6 to drop, and I want to be somewhat familiar with the platform, so I'm not just figuring out iOS again when the time comes to review that device. And going from Android to iOS these days is pretty seamless. Dropping onto Windows Phone, man, there's nothing. Like, the Instagram client's a beta. Like, Gmail has no, like, and we're talking Google services, so obviously there's not a whole lot there. Like, but Gmail has no native client, so you can use the built-in one, but then you're gonna have just that stuff that feels very Stone Age, like notifications that are sitting on your phone for emails that you already checked on a PC because they don't go away because it doesn't work that way when you're not just using Google's client. I'm going to cover this in much more depth in the actual video, where actually throughout my time using it, I'm going to be creating a list of apps I looked for and found and apps I looked for and didn't find. And some of those apps I looked for and didn't find are going to be pretty spectacular. Like, one of the things that I hate about it is the keyboard. And I was like, just, curiosity. Because, like, look how much of the screen the keyboard takes up.
Whoa.
When it's got predictive text on there, it's up to here.
What's with the stuff on the bottom? I can't see the side.
That's send, attachment, voice
takes
thing.
up a lot of space.
Yeah, it takes up a lot of space. And you can make the navigation bar go away in the bottom, but you use it so often, you're going to want it most of the time anyway. Yeah. So I wanted to change the keyboard. And I was like, I wonder if there's SwiftKey. So I looked it up, and it turns out that the only things that come up for SwiftKey are outright scams. One of them has 7 one-star reviews going back to about 3 weeks ago, saying this is a scam. It's a $1 link to the SwiftKey website. Oh. Yeah, like, just bad. Like, it's not even a terrible keyboard, like, wallpaper that looks like a keyboard. Like, they didn't even do anything. It's just a link. And Microsoft hasn't removed this from the store. And I think that...
The same problem... This segues into our next topic.
I know, but I'm not going to let you do it just yet.
Oh.
So I think my problem with the 1M8 Windows Phone Edition is effectively... HTC has done their best here. Their camera app is as easy to use as the Android version. They've actually got Blink Feed as a live tile, so you can still use Blink Feed if you're into that, which I've actually started using more lately. Oh, it still has double tap to wake. So there you go. Like, it's the 1M8. It's just on a platform that just doesn't feel enthusiast friendly, like, at all. And the whole live tile concept, it's very beautiful. And, going like this, you can go look at your apps and do whatever. The problem is that live tiles change visually, which if you look at, someone like McDonald's, how often do they change their logo? Why do they not change that? Recognizability is good when people are trying to find things. So to me, live tiles changing what they look like is not necessarily a very positive thing. And you might go, okay, well, Linus, just memorize where they all are. To which I would say, yeah, that's fine too. Except that unlike Android and iOS, you don't have discrete pages. And you can't create subfolders. So you actually, once you start scrolling, remembering where everything is on the page goes out the window. You can't muscle memory, scroll down, 3/8 of a decimeter and then click on this part. It doesn't work that way. So, hey, that's a unit of measurement.
No one uses it.
I know, but... Well, I wanted to say 3/8 of an inch, but that's not enough to be an actual, so I changed it to decimeter mid-sentence. Anyway. Because no one uses fractions of metric measurements either, so it was just a completely broken thing to say. Anyway, the point is that if you're going to install more apps than what fits on, like, one home screen, it just doesn't scale very nicely. And it's not intuitive to use. So I was really hoping that Windows Phone would have matured a lot since I used it a year ago on an HTC 8X.
I think it did. I think it matured into a giant scam machine.
Okay, so that's how you're going to segue into our next topic? Okay, so
I'm trying to make sure that you have anything left to still make a video about.
Posted by JMaster299. Oh, I'm going to have lots. I mean, I'll say mostly that stuff.
I was more trolling than anything.
Troll yourself. All right, talk
So
about this.
this is for Windows Phone and like Windows 8, where there's the Microsoft Store.
And this headline written by J Master here is pretty sensationalist. Microsoft willingly allowing malicious apps in the Windows Store to obtain a cut of the profits. That is some tinfoil hat stuff there.
The to obtain a cut of the profits thing is maybe a little bit sensationalist, but willingly allowing is not sensationalist.
Yes.
That's actually a thing.
I know they have allowed the apps to. I mean, okay.
And they have to be manually approved.
You talk.
So the stores are crammed with fake versions of popular paid apps, like Linus was just talking about. You can look for something and it'll just give you a link to download it. That's an extremely common situation, and even the descriptions on some of them will be like, helps the user to know how to download and use this thing, but it's not how to use it or anything. It's just a link to the proper app where you can download it for free. That's it. And I believe the iTunes one is $9. They provide you a $9 link. Ridiculous. That should never be manually approved by an employee. That is insane. Microsoft does claim that in their store everything is manually approved by an employee. So that whole willingly knowing that they're having scam apps has to be true, or they're lying about that.
Someone knows, but I don't think
knows.
that the people creating the policy for the approval of apps is. They must know at this point. Like, what is?
It's been in the news so much, and you'd think if you ever look at the store, like I believe even a search for VLC comes up with a whole bunch of paid versions that are just links to download, which is like, okay, come on now. And like that one that I was just talking about, $9 for a link to iTunes. iTunes is extremely common. They must have ran into this at some point in time. There has to be someone reporting it up the chain, being like, hey,
And
there's a $9 link.
And there really needs to be an after-the-fact review system for ones like the one I mentioned, where it had 7 one-star reviews going back several weeks. Anything that's got, 2 or 3 one-star reviews in a row, that's got to put up some major red flags. I mean, the app creator didn't even bother to create a spam account to give it a 5-star rating. It has literally nothing to get past a filter of any sort. Nothing. No attempt made. So there must just not be one.
Where he's coming from with the whole trying to skim the profits thing, which I don't know how necessarily real that is. What the but they see they're giving money out at this point, so I don't know if it totally makes sense. They're running a keep the cash promotion where they paid developers $100 for each completed app. So if you're trying to get those $100 things, if you put a link in and upload it as an app, you just made $100. So obviously a bunch of people are going to want to do that, and you can make up to $2,000 per developer. So if you want pretty much free $2,000, just make a bunch of apps that link to other apps, and you're done. That's kind of fantastically horrible.
And you know what? It aligns with their seeming desperation to deliver search results when people search in the store. Like, I searched for TWITT, and instead of bringing up things like carbon, it brought up official Twitter, and then it brought up Facebook and Instagram, which I'm like, okay, those are at least within the same category. And then as you continue to scroll down the list, things get less and less related to the point where it's just like, it's not about delivering more results. It's about delivering the most relevant result, and it really feels like they aren't there yet.
And speaking of that, in April 2014, they announced that they have over 400,000 apps combined between the Windows Phone and Windows, just normal Windows Store. But that includes all the scams, so they have some amount of incentive not to take them down because they can keep that in their number of apps that they have. And if they axed all of these scam apps, that would greatly reduce their total amount of apps that they can claim that they have. Also, Microsoft takes a cut of every sale, of every app sale. So this is where people are thinking that
tinfoil hat.
I don't think want to keep them around. But honestly, looking at the tiny little miniature microscopic droplets that has to be in their revenue stream.
Yeah.
I don't see them taking that giant risk for that. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
I think they're a lot smarter than that at some level.
Yeah. So I think something's going wrong. I don't think it's because of the money, especially because they were giving out $100 per app for people to just make them in general. Yeah. I don't see this being a money gaining opportunity.
If I was going to create a program like that, I'd probably have a bigger payout for people to create one app, because how could an individual developer create 20 quality apps within a reasonable period of time? That's just stupid.
And maybe have a bigger payout and be like, yeah, you get the money, the really big payout, when you have a certain ratio of stars.
or something.
Like, say you have to have 3-star minimum or something like that.
It has to be useful.
But then, like, pay attention to the star ratings and make sure that they're not just all scam, which is very common lately.
Yeah. All right. So
Happy topic!
yeah. So speaking of wanting people to like you, Disney is rumored to be working on an unaltered release of the Star Wars trilogy, the original trilogy, not the one no one cares about, on Blu-ray. Now, as someone who has seen the Blu-ray enhanced versions, wow, they look a lot better than the original releases, man. Like, they did some serious work to clean that stuff up and make it look, like, really good. By the way, once I was looking for it in A New Hope, you can easily spot the stormtroopers with gaffer tape on them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, especially in the Blu-ray version. So I've seen the Blu-ray version. I've seen the original releases. The problem is that I cannot take A New Hope seriously if Greedo shoots first. And it seems like a stupid, petty thing. But I went back and watched the original release on, like, VHS cassettes pretty recently. It was actually kind of awesome. And the way it's cut together, the way the music flows, the way everything happens, Han is a badass and shot the dude because he's tired of his crap. Boom. And, like, the way he tips the bartender, like, a couple bucks for leaving a dead body in the... You're not going to convince me that he's some kind of white frickin' knight at this point. Come on. He's clearly... This doesn't even faze him at all. Blowing someone away in a bar does not even register on his radar. So anyway, I am super excited to see this. I plan to buy it.
If it happens. And you know what? At
it
this point in time,
happens.
even if it is a rumor and wasn't being worked on, they should scramble their ass and get this released. Because they're getting all good publicity right now.
If Disney was looking to gain the favor of the hardcore fans, like, you think about the hardcore Star Wars fans, how many times they've been crapped on in the last 20 years.
So many.
So many times. They're going to be going into Disney's first crack at this with a negative vibe, as opposed to going in excited, you know, ready to be blown away. They're going to be going in expecting to be disappointed. And I think Disney's going to have to work that much harder to impress them.
Yep.
Whereas if they do this ahead of time, I think it's a very different aura that walks into that theater for the first screening. So.
Yep. So they really, really should do this, even if it is just a rumor.
All these rumors are coming from comicbook.com, so we don't even know how credible this is. But the rumor is that the project is taking longer than expected due to damage to the negatives. But I'd be super stoked if this happened.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of things I'd be super stoked if they happened, Google's driverless cars can keep up with the flow of traffic.
So this has been very, like...
Posted by Victoria's Secret.
A lot. This is what I'm talking about. The titles for a lot of these things, in my opinion, have been pretty sensationalist.
Yeah.
Because designed to exceed the speed limit. They're not designed to purposefully just be like, ha ha ha, we're going too quickly. But they have a threshold where they're...
Take that, copper!
Yeah. They have a threshold where they are allowed to go slightly above the speed limit. I don't think it's that fast.
10 miles or about 16 kilometers an hour, which is...
That's pretty fast, but that's what they're allowed to do. They're not programmed to do this.
But in a lot of areas, it's perfectly reasonable.
Yes, because they're keeping up with the flow of traffic. Because it has been proven time and time again that not keeping up with the flow of traffic can be very dangerous.
Yeah, like proven, not speculated.
Not
by
speculated.
like Reddit, but proven that it's dangerous to go too slow.
Speculated by Reddit.
Yeah.
No. Proven by like actual
science.
Yeah. So they're not designed to just go out and exceed speed limits because they're wanting to get there quickly. They're designed to keep up with traffic, and if that has to do with exceeding the speed limit by a fairly reasonable amount, then it's okay. But they're not going to like keep up with traffic if traffic is going 200 miles an hour, because yeah.
So another interesting thing along the also related to Google's driverless cars from this week is that the state of California is telling Google they don't want them on the road unless they have a steering wheel and pedals so that the driver can take immediate
Manual
control
override.
if needed. And this is going to be a big debate for a while, because part of the safety of driverless cars is going to be taking human error out of the equation. So So, for now, Google is retrofitting the ones that they've already made, is my understanding. But the ones, like the actual official Google car, was not supposed to have a steering wheel and pedals. So this could, this debate could rage for a while. In the UK, they are looking to allow Google's cars starting in 2015. So once again, someone else is more progressive than the United States, where the innovation is actually happening.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny when you look at it that way, isn't it?
It is funny.
I mean, what makes the United States a powerhouse? Research and technology. It's like, no, we don't want it here.
I find
away,
the
Google.
United States, almost more than any other region, though, is very scared of having things go out of people's hands.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny, because I was about to say movies and TV shows probably don't help, but this actually reminds me of a fantastic, I think it was a 2-part episode of Doctor Who, where some bad guy, I don't remember exactly the context, I think it's another Time Lord or something, or can't remember, some bad aliens or something. So basically the plot of every Doctor Who episode ever, they were using a car manufacturer it was like better emissions or something. It was like a thing that you could install in your car, and then they just had them like drive people into lakes and stuff. So it's not like that kind of content doesn't exist in the UK. It's just you have to also have your feet on the ground in reality
and realize that you don't live in that world.
And look at something that has actually been very well tested at this point. I mean, what is it? 700,000 miles of logged travel on these cars.
And the only accidents have been like
caused by another driver.
Yeah, not them. I don't know. What was I gonna say? Right, iRobot. There's the manual takeover thing, but then it doesn't really help.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I don't know. What people are scared of, obviously, is like technical failure, but then.
And people don't like giving up control.
Yeah.
I mean, if Google told me, look, actually, this is a perfect example. If Google told me, hey, we've come up with an automated way to look at your video, so you just upload it, and then we'll create the perfect title, thumbnail, and description for you. I'd be like,
say no.
No? You high? And that we're not even talking about my life. We're just talking about my job at that point.
To be honest, though, if it worked after a long time, I would eventually let it just do it. I would just want my own testing done on it, that's all.
Right.
To be completely honest. And then what you could do is like just let it go, and then if something's wrong, just go edit it later. It's not as consequential as driverless cars. But I don't know. And that brings in the same debate where if you crash, at least it was your fault.
Yeah.
If the AI crashes, it wasn't your fault.
Even if the odds of you crashing were much higher.
Yeah. I'm just saying that's an argument.
I've probably logged less than 700,000 miles of driving in my life. Let me just think. Oh yeah, definitely less. Probably about a half to 2/3 of that. But I have been in at least 2 or 3 at-fault accidents in that time. So, on the other hand, in the last 5 or 6 years, I haven't been in any. So, do you look at this and kind of go, oh, okay, well, for new drivers, but then they'll never get any experience, and we're going to be talking about, previous generation people who are not used to this newfangled technology. Would you trust your kids to it? Like, that's something. Like, would I trust myself to drive around in a self-driving car? Actually, probably. I would probably ride around in one. But if I were to buy a self-driving car for my family, like one of the sort of, utopia, amazing future type things that I imagine is that every household will only need one vehicle because it can just go where it's needed. It'll go pick up the kids and take them to karate, and then when it's done with that, it'll go pick up me and take me there to meet them and watch them, and then it'll go pick up my wife when she's done work and take her to come, and then we'll all go together home. Like, that's amazing. That's so cool. But would I really just let a car go by itself to pick up my son when he's done, the day at kindergarten? I don't know how I feel about
what
that.
What if it gets to the point where there's the car should obviously actually have cameras all over the place, and you can connect to it at any point in time, so you can see it drive up to the building that your son's at. You can see your son get into the car.
Maybe I'm too old for this stuff. Maybe virtual presence devices weird me out a little. I don't know, man.
What if it gets to the point where virtual presence...
Hi, iPad Dad!
Yeah. But seriously, what if it gets to the point where you've seen that thing where you can attend a conference or convention
Yep.
through that wheeled iPad, right?
Yep.
What if that becomes way more intense? What if you're controlling an Android? What if you could literally carry your son out of the car, but it's not your body?
I'm giving him a robot hug, and I'm getting an iPad kiss.
I meant
That's so weird!
I meant more like if the car crashes.
If the car crashes, oh man, I don't even know.
The car crashes and there's this like metal, like heavy duty emergency droid sitting in the car, and you can just be like, take over, pick up, carry out, call 911 on its built-in Android software.
I don't know, man.
That's very safe.
I wasn't even thinking about not being there in the event of an emergency. I was just thinking about how impersonal the whole thing is.
Right. That I didn't think about. But now I'm thinking about emergency.
All right, so in not controversial and definitely excellent vehicle news, Tesla increases their warranty drive unit warranty, or their the drive unit warranty on the Model S to 8 years, and the battery pack.
There we go. Yeah.
Wow.
8 years, infinite miles. So
Isn't
you can
that
drive
amazing?
as much as you want. Elon Musk has said it will have a moderate negative effect on Tesla's earnings in the short term, but it's the right thing for Tesla vehicle owners in the early stage of their company, and he's confident that they'll work it out well in the long term because Elon Musk is a massive badass. And that's
Dude.
pretty much it.
Posted by SamCool55 on the forum, by the way. Thank you.
It's going retroactively to people that already own Model S's. So if you bought a Model S early on, you're getting this warranty despite not having it when you originally bought it.
I mean, 8 years. Like, if you think about that, my car is a 2003. And 3 years ago, you could probably make the argument that it had kind of served its purpose to the original owner. And if that original owner wasn't a complete cheapskate, they were probably going to resell it. In fact, I have only owned that car for about 8 years because I bought it as an end of lease deal from someone who leased it for a few years.
And this can be transferred to infinite amount of owners either.
Wow.
So infinite miles, infinite owners, 8 years.
So assuming that my car has reached the point after the time that I've owned it that I might have to do some maintenance, like a battery swap on it, is not unfair and not unreasonable. And this is the first time I've really seen a car manufacturer step up and instead of warrantying what is safe, warrantying what is reasonable for a consumer to expect in terms of a vehicle lifetime. Because by 8 years, it's dinged up, it's scratched, it's probably gotten its windshield broken a couple times from random debris on the road. Like, there's stuff that can reasonably be wrong with it that's nobody's fault.
Given how much detail and quality they put into their paint jobs, which is insane, they have someone white glove hand over the entire surface of the car just to make sure it's perfect. Every single one. Like, I would hate to get that thing scratched, but it's probably going to be scratched in the 8-year lifetime.
Gonna happen.
So this means you get infinite usage of all of Tesla's supercharging stations, which they're constantly putting up more for the lifetime of the product, not 8 years. And you get an 8-year warranty on your drive unit and battery, which is like, if you look into how they're made, pretty much everything.
That's cool.
That's so beast. Awesome. I'm excited for their like more consumer-friendly, cheaper car that they're going to come out with. Who knows if it's going to have all this kind of stuff, but knowing them, it'll be pretty awesome.
So speaking of how difficult it is for me to switch to Windows Phone, this was originally posted on the forum by Builder, and there's an article here that I think actually hits on a number of truths. And I think that the basic point of, the headline that Builder put in is, choose Firefox now or later you won't get a choice. And the article really looks at Google's dominance in terms of how many people that they have won over to their ecosystem and how much power that gives them over you not being able to switch to something else. Like, I can switch to iOS because iOS was so dominant and Google has supported it up until now and doesn't look like they're going to stop supporting it anytime soon. But a new platform, someone who's trying to break in, like Microsoft, who's getting no support from Google, the fact that I am so deeply rooted in Google's ecosystem, whether it's Drive or Hangouts or Gmail. I use Gmail for my personal and for my business email. I see the point. If you don't stop using Google services, you may never be able to stop. And, if they become your service provider for everything that you use online and your ISP at some terrifying point in the future, basically, we won't even need to worry about the NSA because Google will have all the information we were ever worried about the NSA having. And Google might have been in the past, up until now even, fairly consumer oriented. But that doesn't mean that their leadership's going to exist forever. That doesn't mean that as a company, their culture can't change very dramatically. I mean,
It already has. We've seen it happen.
it already has changed very dramatically. And these are very young companies that we're entrusting a lot of information to. They're not old companies like, a Nintendo, where we can look back 100 years at what their culture is and how they've evolved over time. We're looking at companies that have gone from zero to enormous in a span of 5 or 10 or 20 or even 2 years sometimes.
Kind of insane.
That's how fast they change. So be prepared for them to change that fast. So I don't know. I thought it was really interesting food for thought. And the original article was from robert.o'callahan.org.
I've been looking into switching to photon mail for a while, but photon mail is taking a while to really become a thing.
Right.
So waiting for that. And I've been looking into changing to a lot of things, but the problem is whenever Google steps into a market, everyone else is basically forcibly stepped out.
Yep.
Because everyone moves to that. So there's no real, great calendar app anymore.
Yep.
Because everyone just uses Google Calendar. It's
And
hard to
Google
switch
Calendar
to
is
these
not even
things.
that great.
No, it's not.
Actually, it's kind of annoying. I'd
Yeah.
love to have a better calendar.
So would I.
I mean, here's like the
Now
simplest.
someone's going to message us with a better calendar, which is fantastic. Please do that.
Here's the simplest thing ever. Here, I'm just gonna pull up a blank calendar here on my screen. So, here's an example. What if I wanted to take this event and drag it past here?
You have to put it on that bottom row and
Yeah.
then go down.
That's ridiculous. That's the stupidest thing ever. How did nobody catch this ever? Anyway.
I don't know. It's just kind of horrible. So it's kind of scary. I've been saying this for quite a while, actually. But
Yeah. We don't have a better option. We're just grousing about it.
And the problem right now is, I've brought this up in a few different WAN shows. There's such mass fight for speed in browsers right now, where they're just iterating releases incredibly fast. If you look way back, Firefox didn't release releases all that quickly until kind of Google Chrome came in, and then they both started fighting, and they're both releasing as fast as they possibly can to try and stay on top of.
I like this. Ionic Meteor says Outlook Master Race, and I'm 50 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been fighting for these iterative releases, which are insane, and they just break everything. On my personal computer
Flash
at home,
hasn't been working in Firefox for months.
on my personal computer at home, I can't use most social media websites on Firefox, and then I can't view YouTube videos in Chrome. What? So I have to use 2 different browsers so that I can actually get functionality across all of them. What the hell? Since when did this happen? Just give up. It's freaking fast enough. Fix everything. God, one of you. Firefox, I wish Firefox would just step back and be like, okay, you can be 1/1000th of a second faster than us. Who gives a crap? Everything's gonna work on our browser.
You know
that would
what?
be great, because Waterfox is doing it right now.
I'm rooting for Internet Explorer, the rebrand.
Yeah,
I'm holding out for that. Maybe they'll get it together. I doubt it though.
I doubt it, but maybe.
If I'm gonna
would be
blindly,
cool.
if I'm gonna have blind faith in something, I guess that'll be it right now.
Just throw to the third team that no one knows about. It's like, yeah. I don't know.
All right. Asus is teasing a new smartwatch posted by Dietrich W.
Luke Hughes Opera? No, it's not better.
Yeah, no,
I've
I'm
tried.
sorry. Opera is so impossible to use.
Yes.
But part of the issue I have with Opera is using Google services with it. YouTube is just broken. And I'm not talking viewing YouTube videos. I mean the content creator tools.
Yeah.
Cannot use.
Yeah.
All right.
I have Opera on my computer. I do use it.
So basically, time has been transformed and we have changed, is a quote that they're using, and they are going to apparently give us some more details on September the 3rd.
Hooray.
So there we go. Apparently, it'll be priced somewhere between $100 and $150. I guess that's all we really have to say about that. Why don't we blast our way through some more of these like quick fire topics?
All right.
You just pick ones that are interesting to you, and I'll pick ones that are interesting to me. We'll take
Facebook
turns.
is offering bounties for bugs found in Oculus Rift. This is not the first time we've seen this on like a hardware model, but it's interesting how Oculus Rift, which is a company that will be releasing and publishing games and their Rift device and possibly other things in the future, is offering a bounty for finding bugs with a minimum reward of $500. When we see early access being such a big, pathetic, useless piece of crap, and then we see companies like Oculus throwing bounties at people, I just found that to be a weird contrast.
Yay, Facebook accusation.
Yay!
Actually.
Pretty much.
All
Pretty
right.
weird.
I've got one here. There's an app called what's it called again? Called Ignore No More.
Oh yeah.
That allows a parent or guardian or someone else to stop their kids from ignoring their calls. So, you want to get your kids some caller ID, you kind of go, yeah, sure, you can know when I'm calling, but if you don't pick up my calls, then I will remotely lock your phone so you can't use it. So if you're not going to talk to me, then you're not going to talk to anyone. We actually had a lot of people on the Linus Tech Tips forum get really upset about this and kind of go, "Ooh, the invasion of privacy, this, that, or the other." No, it's not. If part of the deal is, look, Junior, who's 13 years old or 12 years old and probably, in my generation, would have been considered too young to have their own phone. Like, look, Junior, you want a phone? Sure, that's fine. But I expect it. Part of the verbal contract here is you have a phone so we can get in touch with each other.
Yeah.
If you are ignoring that part of the verbal contract, then you don't deserve to use your phone right now. That's it. So what they have to do is they have to call their parents back to get an unlock code.
I think one of my parents might call me out on this, but as far as I can remember, I paid for my cell phone for the entire duration of having a cell phone.
Okay, my parents paid for mine because the deal was that I got a car and a cell phone. And I have 4 siblings. So the deal was I had to be available to drive people.
Oh, that makes sense.
And I had to be accessible.
Yeah.
And I got a car and a phone out of it. So I was like, yeah, deal.
I was a nerd, and all my friends came over to my house because we had all the coolest
Right.
stuff to play with in terms of video games or whatever. So I didn't really need one.
Yeah, I lived in the middle of nowhere. It was a
Yeah.
10-minute drive to the closest convenience store. Like, we had horses and stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, it made a lot of sense because my parents actually probably made out like bandits in the amount of time that they saved. Me driving to town, which is 20 minutes there and 20 minutes back,
Yeah.
every time someone else needed to miss the school bus or whatever
But
else,
then that's
right?
worth it for you because you have a car and a phone.
Because I have a car and phone, dog.
Actually, the only I didn't even want a phone. The only reason why I got one was because the girlfriend I had at the time was like, dude, what the hell, get a phone.
I know you don't want a phone because whenever you lose or break your phone, it's impossible to get in touch with you for like 2 weeks while you drag ass about replacing it.
Oh, man.
Anyway, I mean...
They're so expensive.
I think that people were upset about this because they saw it as something that parents would stealthily install on their kids' phones.
No,
But that's
I don't
not it
think
at
so.
all.
Yeah.
Because it tells the kid, yo, dog, your phone's locked. Call your mom to unlock it.
You have to know that it's on your phone.
This is part of the deal.
Yeah. Okay, so next one, jump to the user modifies their Windows load screen thing.
Sure.
Because that's awesome.
Really? You're taking that one? I wanted to do that one.
Well, okay,
You can, you can have it.
Hitchhiking robot makes its way across Canada.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool, too.
Boom.
I'll search for Hitch. There we go.
There you go.
The Hitch bot.
So apparently,
Posted by QWERTY Warrior.
QWERTY Warrior wanted to be a huge jerk and name the topic for this "Robot Tricks Gullible Canadians."
Yeah, I didn't even load up his post.
Because he's a huge butt. But anyways, almost everyone that took this robot along with them knew it was coming before they even got it.
And not like a nice huge butt, like booty. We're talking like sagging and hasn't been cleaned.
Divoted.
Yeah. With gross. Yeah,
Slightly
that's the
discoloring.
kind of butt.
Hair.
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
So almost everyone that picked it up knew it was coming beforehand because it had been blasted in the news. And the idea was it came all the way from Halifax, Nova Scotia to Victoria, BC by hitchhiking. So that's the little hitchhiking robot, and someone has to pick it up and then take it along with them. And it made it all the way, which is kind of amazing, especially with reading through the comments of our super high class, totally upstart citizens on our forum who basically all said that they would just steal it and take it home. But yeah, so there's the hitchhiking robot. Someone finds it. This is obviously scripted.
Obviously a promotional video.
Yep. Oh, look. I pick it up. And I put it in my car. And apparently it could, like, talk to you on some very basic level and stuff. And it could tweet out. And it could do some other stuff, too.
That's cool. So all it got was, like, scratched.
It got scratched, and its LCD protective thing had like a small crack in it and stuff. But it made it all the way, which is actually kind of fantastic. Again, especially considering the massively amazing citizens of the LTT forum who all said they would steal it.
So this is cool. I love this video.
Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, this is like super, super badass. Oh, there was no sound.
I heard it.
Did you?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think on the stream there was sound.
Oh. It's not going through the cable.
There we go. So it actually has the intro music as well.
And he has guides on there on how to do it if you want to figure it out. And what was I going to say? He said apparently his fans aren't actually that loud because a lot of people grilled him on that. It's just because he had to crank the volume a lot so you could probably hear it. So
that is so cool.
Well. I think it's actually pretty sick.
All right, you got maybe one more? I've got one more that I want to
do. The Minecraft hard drive thing, is that what you're doing?
No, I wasn't even going to do that. We have so much stuff this week.
I told you, right?
No, I wasn't even going to do that one. Okay, Google's planning to introduce accounts for children under 13, posted by Victoria's Secret. It's going to allow parents to dictate some of the terms of how that Google account will work. I think this is really important because as it is, kids under 13 are using Google accounts and they're just not being regulated correctly. Okay, you're
next. Not being regulated at all, which is kind of ridiculous. In Minecraft, someone made I think single kilobyte hard drive.
Yep, 1 kilobyte.
Which is actually kind of awesome. It's interesting to see this kind of stuff. I've seen, in my opinion, slightly more interesting things on the incredibly ridiculous side of things, but he's got to the incredibly ridiculous side of things at all, which is super cool. So it's pretty cool to show, and he shows like miniature versions of it so you can actually understand how the whole thing works, which is awesome because a lot of these really big projects don't have that. So he basically shows you the fundamentals of what you need to know so that you can build your own, which is, again, super awesome. But yeah, it can store 1 kilobyte of information.
Yep, very cool.
Pretty cool. I like that a lot.
My next thing that I wanted to hit was
China Theaters.
No, actually, I wanted to do EA is not sending reviewers copies of Sims 4. So this was posted by Mindtricks on the forum, and the original source here that we have is kitguru.net. That is...
And, okay, so they're not sending out review copies. There's also no, if I remember correctly, toddlers.
No toddler stage.
And no pools.
No pools. It looks like, I mean, we have this conversation every time there's a new Sims, where it's like, yeah, they downgraded a bunch of crap because all those expansions that you went and bought, you're going to have to rebuy them because the base game doesn't include the expansions of the previous games.
How can it not include pools?
Or, like, developmental phases of the Sims.
Yeah.
Like, they're right in the title of the game.
Yeah. Like, those are two pretty fundamental things, guys. What are you doing? Oh my god.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's more complexity in terms of what text there and what isn't there.
Oh, yeah.
And what we have to build to support this. How do we cut down into the terrain? How do we get Sims going through portals across different levels of pools? There's so much more going on in the background that you don't end up seeing just to have a Sim go swimming. But it's like, well, you did it before. And, like, same thing.
And it's been done since, like, a really long time ago. Like, come on. And it's not that hard.
We're losing some of the open world aspects, so there's going to be actually loading as you go between zones.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I don't know how they can... Like, it must be a really hard job to figure out how to make your product consistently worse.
No, it can't be that hard.
It's got to be hard, because how do you pick pools?
Buildings can now have a maximum of only 2 levels. Like... So... I don't know. On the one hand, I don't think this is what they had in mind, but I think one super cool positive effect of them not giving reviewers early copies of Sims 4 is that really opens up the door for the average consumer to create a review that can actually generate a fair bit of traffic. Because we know that when we release a video about a piece of hardware and we're 2 months late, it'll get X amount of exposure, even at our level, even with all the subscribers we have and all that, the tweets that we can send out and all that stuff. And if we release it at release date, when everyone else hits it, we'll get X times something. And if we release it early, then we'll get X times something much bigger. That's how it works. And that's why there are embargoes and NDAs and release dates, so that no one gets an advantage. But by no one, they mean no one who's a well-established media outlet. Whereas having just an on-shelf date where everyone goes to the store and buys a copy of the game, I think lets grassroots reviewers have an opportunity to be like the one to break the story.
And especially in gaming, like, we're pretty big. We can't get interviews with anyone because we're not established in gaming.
Yep.
It's impossible for us to properly get proper interviews with any big AAA developers. We can't get interviews with Blizzard, we can't get interviews with Ubi, we can't get interviews with 2K, we can't get interviews with...
I mean, on the hardware side, someone like Oculus, you interviewed Palmer. Like, on the hardware side, we're good. We actually have that street cred, but... And I mean, and we even have the street cred for gaming hardware. Like, it's not that tenuous a link.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are completely a nobody walking around on the show floor at PAX, you don't stand a chance. Whereas if everyone kind of stopped giving out pre-release copies and I don't know. I think it could be interesting.
To interject here for a second, the Palmer interview we only got because I ambushed him in the booth. That wasn't preset. Oh. We still don't have a proper media contact there that will actually answer anything. And in the Palmer interview, he said that he did really, in fact, like Linux because he thought we were Linux tech tips. That was the cut that didn't end up getting in because there was no audio recording because Brandon rushed. So maybe not as cool, but they're more actually a gaming company.
Yes.
And they are
all right,
everyone ever wants to interview them.
Right.
So if you contact their press email, there's pretty much no chance you're going to get a reply.
Right.
It's basically a dumping ground. I know that for a fact. You have to have one of their individual emails and they're not publicly broadcast. So yeah. I have it on good faith that he actually liked that interview, but we still have no way to properly contact him because he told us as he was leaving that we should talk to his press guy. We went to go talk to his press guy, and he was like, yeah, no, message the media contact. And we're like, yeah, that's not going to work, is it? And he was like, And I'm like, okay, whatever. Fine.
All right, well, I guess we suck, and we're not important, so here we go.
We're important to some people.
Yeah, we're important to someone.
I just wish we could get...
Actually, I feel pretty important right now. We have over 6,100 people watching right now. You guys are amazing. I know, right?
Tested always gets the cool Oculus interviews. I'm so jelly.
So is that pretty much it? Do we have anything else? We could do that horrible, stupid thing that the Chinese theaters are testing.
Yeah, let's end with that.
Yeah, let's end with that. Well, this is ridiculous.
Hilarious.
I mean, maybe something is getting lost in translation here, but like... China, you guys serious, bruh? So check this out. Cinemas in major cities in China have started testing the bullet screen, which allows the audience to text comments about the film that will be shown on screen. They are filtered, and people have to pay to submit them. I think it's like 10 cents or something like that.
Equivalency of 10 cents. Equivalent
of 10 cents. Sensitive or forbidden words like swearing or democracy are probably going to get filtered there. But yeah.
And it has to be approved to be a bullet screen film by the writer and their contract with the producer. So
I can't think of anything that anyone sitting in a theater with me could contribute to my viewing experience by putting it in front of my face while I'm trying to watch a movie. That is ridiculous. Okay, I can see having something like chat with other people in the theater, like a Twitch chat style thing.
That's what I thought it was when I first heard about this.
on your seat, or like on like okay. So say for example they have a Wi-Fi hotspot inside each theater, so people can tune in on their phones and chat with each other. You know, some people get really bothered by the glowing screen and the
don't
dark
care.
theater thing. I personally give exactly zero craps about that. I'm not going to turn my phone on because other people find it rude. But if that was the route you wanted to go with this, that's a lot less intrusive than putting someone's freaking text message on the screen while I'm trying to watch the movie. So if you like logged in, if there was an app or something and it was like, let's discuss the movie while we're watching, that way it's very optional. People don't have to look at it. This is ridiculous. This is just stupid. This is the worst possible implementation I can think of.
I had like a semi-emergency thing once where I needed to be in texting contact with someone, and I was in a movie theater. So like you'd think just leave, but it was very intermittent messages, and it wasn't like there was no point in time where I knew if I was going to get another one that I needed to reply to and stuff.
Hold on. People are like, but Twitch chat is retarded. I'm like, this is exactly why it shouldn't be across the front of our video right now.
Yeah, so if someone wants to talk to it, they should be able to.
Go ahead.
This, but
It should be optional.
exactly. But what I did was I put my sweater on backwards and put the hood up,
Right.
and then used my phone under it, so there was no light emission at all.
Nice.
I was like, problem solved. Yeah, I guess that's about it. We can after show to talk about anything else if we want to.
Yeah, I promised to do a garage sale this week, but I don't feel like it. I've barely slept. I have a newborn. You know what? Maybe what I'll do is I should start just like listing them at night, and we can like just say, hey, there's garage sale items, and then like, hey, there's a price drop on like your after party stream or something like that.
Sure.
Or something. I don't know. Or like maybe what we could do is we could do like a really
There's a
short
lot
garage
time.
sale after the show. Maybe I'll prep this next week, and I'll just be like, here's all the items that are going to be available tonight.
And then like set them all live.
Yeah, stay tuned. Or something like that. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching The WAN Show. Thank you to our sponsors, HyperX and Lynda.com, for making this episode possible. Thank you to Luke for making this episode possible.
Thank you to Linus for making this episode possible.
It's all about the fishing for thanks and fishing for compliments, right?
Wasn't fishing for that at all.
Your shoes look so great today.
Oh my god, your dress is fantastic.
Thank you. Oh, dang it.
Okay.
They can still hear you. Oh yeah. Derp. Speaking of derp, there was one other big news thing this week. It's like Reddit and a bunch of other awesome... Hold on, let me find it. Where's derp? Yeah, Imgur, Twitch, FARC, and Stack Exchange Research Partnership. I think Reddit was also involved, at least I thought so. The point is it's called DERP, and it stands for Digital Ecologies Research Partnership. Can't believe they called it DERP.
Reddit, Imgur, Twitch.
Oh yeah, I said Reddit.
Yeah.
See, this is why I can't do an after party or a garage sale right now. Clearly not capable.